Antifragile, Things That Gain from Disorder, by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. Introduction. Imagine you're at the post office. You have a delicate gift to send, a box full of beautiful, thin champagne glasses. What do you write on the package? You'd grab a thick red marker and write fragile. Handle with care. Breakable. You do this because you know the journey is unpredictable. The package will be dropped, shaken, and tossed around. You want it to survive with as little harm as possible. Now, let me ask you a question. What is the exact opposite of that package? What would you write on a box that was the polar opposite of fragile? Most people will say robust, or strong, or unbreakable. But think about that for a second. A robust package is one that simply resists shocks. It doesn't break, but it doesn't get any better, either. You wouldn't need to write anything on it at all. The true opposite of a fragile package would be one that benefits from being mishandled. A package where you would write in big, bold letters, "Please mishandle, please toss around." A package whose contents would not just survive the journey, but would arrive at their destination stronger, better, and more valuable than when they started. This idea, this property of gaining from disorder, is so fundamental to life, yet for most of history, we didn't even have a word for it. This is the central mystery that the brilliant and rebellious thinker, Nassim Nicholas Taleb, unravels in his masterwork, Antifragile. This isn't just another book, it's the culmination of a lifetime spent as a trader, a mathematician, and a philosopher, staring into the face of uncertainty. It has sold millions of copies and has become a secret weapon for innovators, entrepreneurs, and anyone trying to navigate our chaotic modern world. Taleb argues that our society has become obsessed with eliminating randomness, with trying to make everything neat, predictable, and efficient. But in doing so, we are accidentally making ourselves, our systems, and our children incredibly fragile. We are like overprotective parents who, in trying to shield their kids from every scratch and scrape, end up creating adults who shatter at the first sign of real-world trouble. So, what if I told you there's a secret to not just surviving in a world full of chaos, but actually thriving because of it? What if the very things we fear, randomness, shocks, stress, and mistakes, are the keys to growth, strength, and innovation? By the end of our journey today, you'll have a new word in your vocabulary, a new lens through which to see the world. It's a concept so powerful, it can feel like a superpower. The word is anti-fragile. And understanding it will change the way you look at your health, your career, your relationships, and your entire life. It's the secret to becoming the fire that is energized by the wind, not the candle that is extinguished by it. Book summary. Let's start with a simple but profound observation that sits at the heart of this entire book. The world can be divided into three types of things. To understand them, we can look to the myths of the ancient Greeks. First, you have the fragile. Think of the sword of Damocles. Damocles was a courtier who was invited to a lavish banquet by his king. But as he sat down to eat, he looked up and saw a massive sword hanging directly above his head, suspended by a single, thin horsehair. At any moment, a small, random event, a gust of wind, a slight tremor, could snap that hair and bring his life to a sudden, violent end. The fragile craves peace, quiet, and predictability. It is harmed by volatility and shocks. Your grandmother's porcelain teacup is fragile. Our modern banking system is fragile. An employee with a single, stable job is, surprisingly, fragile. Next, you have the robust. Think of the phoenix, the mythical bird that, when it dies, is reborn from its own ashes, returning to the exact same state it was in before. The robust resists shocks and stays the same. A block of concrete is robust. Your favorite pair of jeans might be robust. The robust doesn't care much about volatility, it endures. It's good, but it's not the whole story. And finally, you have the third category, the one we've been missing. The antifragile. Think of the Hydra, the multi-headed serpent from Greek mythology. When you cut off one of its heads, what happens? Two grow back in its place. The Hydra doesn't just resist harm, it gains from it. It gets stronger with every attack. It feeds on chaos. This is antifragility, the property of things that benefit from shocks, volatility, randomness, and stressors. This isn't just a clever idea, it's the secret of life itself. Taleb argues that anything that has survived and evolved over time is, by definition, antifragile. Evolution itself is the ultimate example. Individual organisms are fragile. They die. But the gene pool, the information they carry, gets stronger and more resilient with every shock to the system. Mistakes, mutations, and environmental changes are not problems for evolution, they are its fuel. Think about your own body. If you sit in bed for a month, your muscles will atrophy and weaken. They become fragile. But if you go to the gym and lift weights, you are introducing stressors. You are literally causing small micro-tears in your muscle fibers. And how does your body respond? It doesn't just repair the damage, it overcompensates. It builds the muscle back stronger than it was before, in anticipation of a greater stressor next time. Your body is antifragile. This principle of overcompensation is everywhere. The author calls it hormesis, the idea that a small dose of something harmful can actually be beneficial. A little bit of poison can act like a medicine. This is the logic behind vaccines, where we inject a weakened form of a virus to stimulate our immune system to build a powerful defense. The tragedy of modern life, Taleb says, is that we have declared a war on this natural antifragility. We are systematically removing all the small, necessary stressors from our lives, and it's making us weak. Think of the overprotective soccer mom who sanitizes her child's entire world, never letting them get dirty, fall down, or face a single challenge. She is trying to protect her child, but she is actually fragilizing them, leaving them unprepared for the inevitable shocks of the real world. A child who has never been exposed to germs has a weaker immune system. A child who has never been allowed to fail has no resilience. We do this not just to our children, but to our entire society. Taleb calls this the disease of touristification. We try to turn life into a predictable, packaged tour. We follow a script, go to school, get a degree, get a stable job, follow a rigid schedule, and avoid all uncertainty. But a life without surprises is a life half-lived. It's a golden cage. The adventurer, or what Taleb calls the rational flaneur, is someone who wanders without a fixed plan, making decisions at every step based on new information. He embraces randomness and discovers things the tourist could never find. This war on randomness is waged by what Taleb calls the fragilista. The fragilista is the modern expert, often a bureaucrat, an academic economist, or a consultant in a suit and tie, who believes he understands the world and tries to fix it with top-down solutions. The fragilista is what Taleb calls a naive rationalist. He mistakes the things he doesn't understand for things that don't exist. He looks at a complex system like the economy or the human body and sees a simple machine, like a washing machine. He thinks he can just open it up, tweak a few dials, and make it better. This leads to what Taleb calls naive interventionism. It's the urge to do something without understanding the hidden, long-term consequences. The most dangerous form of this is iatrogenics, a term from medicine that means harm caused by the healer. For a long time in history, going to the doctor was one of the most dangerous things you could do. They would bleed you to balance your humors or perform surgeries in unsanitary conditions, often making you sicker than you were before. The doctor's intervention, driven by his belief that he needed to do something, was more dangerous than the disease itself. Taleb argues that this is what we're doing to our economy and our society. When the economy has a small downturn, politicians and central bankers rush in to fix it. They lower interest rates, print money, and bail out failing companies. They smooth out the small bumps. But in doing so, they prevent the system from healing itself. They don't allow the weak, fragile companies to fail and be replaced by stronger, more innovative ones. They are preventing the small forest fires, which allows flammable material to build up until one day, a single spark creates an uncontrollable inferno that burns down the entire forest. This is the great paradox. The more we try to create stability, the more we create the conditions for a massive, catastrophic collapse. We move from a world of manageable, everyday randomness, what Taleb calls mediocrity, to a world of long periods of calm followed by extreme, unpredictable shocks. A world he calls extremistan. Think of two brothers. One is a taxi driver. His income is volatile. Some days he makes a lot, some days he makes very little. He's constantly exposed to small stressors, traffic, difficult customers, a slow week. This forces him to adapt. He learns which parts of the city are busy, what times are best, and how to improve his service. He has many small employers, his customers. If he loses one, it doesn't matter. He is robust, even a little antifragile. His brother is a mid-level bank manager. His income is perfectly stable. He gets the exact same paycheck deposited into his account every month. He lives in a world of apparent calm and predictability. But he has one big employer. And one day, after 20 years of service, he gets a phone call. The bank is downsizing. His job has been eliminated. His income instantly drops to zero. He is fragile. He is the turkey, being fed every day by the butcher, growing more and more confident in the butcher's goodwill, until the day before Thanksgiving. Our modern systems are designed to create more bank managers and fewer taxi drivers. They create an illusion of stability that hides a terrifying fragility. So, if trying to predict and control the world is the problem, what is the solution? How do we build an anti-fragile life? This brings us to one of Taleb's most powerful and practical ideas, the barbell strategy. Imagine a barbell at the gym. It has weights on both ends, and nothing in the middle. This, for Taleb, is the perfect metaphor for how to approach life and risk. Instead of being in the medium risk or moderate middle, which is often the most dangerous place because the risks are hidden and miscalculated, you should have a dual strategy of extremes. On one end of the barbell, you are hyper-conservative, hyper-cautious. On the other end, you are hyper-aggressive, hyper-speculative. Let's apply this to investing. A typical moderate risk portfolio puts all its money in the stock market. But the stock market is a complex system, prone to unpredictable crashes. The risks are not truly known. A barbell strategy, instead, would put, say, 90% of your money in the safest possible investment you can find, like cash or government bonds. Something that cannot blow up. This is the conservative end of your barbell. Then, with the remaining 10%, you take massive risks. You invest in a handful of highly speculative startups, or other ventures that have the potential for an explosive, unlimited payoff. With this strategy, you have completely changed the asymmetry of your risk. Your downside is strictly limited. The most you can possibly lose is that 10%. But your upside is unlimited. If one of those startups becomes the next Google, your gains are massive. You have protected yourself from ruin, while giving yourself exposure to positive black swans, those rare, unpredictable events with huge positive consequences. This isn't just about money. It's a strategy for life. For your career, it could mean having a stable, secure day job that pays the bills and doesn't cause you stress the accountant, and then in your free time, Pursuing a passion project with huge upside, like writing a novel or starting a small online business, the rockstar. For your health, it could mean avoiding chronic, low-level stressors like sugar and processed foods, being conservative, but occasionally engaging in intense, acute stressors like a heavy workout or a period of fasting, being aggressive. The barbell strategy is about removing the risk of ruin and getting the best of both worlds. It is the practical application of antifragility. This leads us to another core principle for an antifragile life: via negativa, which is Latin for the negative way. It's the idea that we often know much more about what is wrong than what is right. Knowledge grows by subtraction far more than by addition. If you see 1,000 white swans, you can't be 100% certain that all swans are white. But if you see just one black swan, you know with absolute certainty that the statement "all swans are white" is false. Disconfirmation is more powerful than confirmation. In life, this means that the path to wisdom, health, and strength is often about what you remove, not what you add. We don't get healthier by adding more and more complex supplements and medications to our lives. We get healthier by removing the unnatural things that are harming us: processed foods, sugar, chronic stress. As the great artist Michelangelo supposedly said when asked how he created his masterpiece, the Statue of David, "It's simple. I just remove everything that is not David." This is why ancient wisdom and traditions are often more robust than modern scientific advice. Not because the ancients were smarter, but because their rules have survived the test of time. Time is the ultimate destroyer of the fragile. Any idea, diet, or practice that has been around for thousands of years has proven its robustness. Taleb calls this the Lindy effect. For something non-perishable, like a technology or an idea, its life expectancy is proportional to its current age. A book that has been in print for 50 years is likely to be in print for another 50. A book that has been in print for 2,000 years, like the works of the Stoic philosopher Seneca, will likely be around for a very, very long time. This is why Taleb is so skeptical of neomania, the love of the new for its own sake. The latest fad diet, the newest tech gadget, the hot new management theory, these are fragile. They haven't been tested by time. The true path to robustness is often through the old, the tried, and the true. Now, all these ideas lead us to the most important principle of all, the ethical core of Taleb's entire philosophy: skin in the game. The biggest problem of the modern world, he says, is the growing separation between action and consequence, between rewards and risk. We have created a society full of people who get the upside of their decisions, while others, often society as a whole, get the downside. They have optionality at our expense. Think of the corporate executive who makes risky bets with his company. If the bets pay off, he gets a massive bonus. If the bets fail and the company goes bankrupt, he keeps his past bonuses, and the taxpayers have to bail out the company. He gets the upside, we get the downside. He is anti-fragile, we are fragile. Think of the politician who votes for a war in a distant country. He gets to look tough and patriotic, but he bears no personal risk. It is the young soldiers and their families who pay the ultimate price. Think of the academic economist who creates a complex financial model that is used by banks. The model blows up the global economy, but the economist doesn't lose his tenured job. He might even get invited to conferences to explain what went wrong. These people have no skin in the game. Their talk is cheap because they are insulated from the consequences of being wrong. For Taleb, this is the great ethical crime of our time. It is the transfer of fragility from the powerful to the powerless. The solution is as old as civilization itself. It is found in the Code of Hammurabi, written almost 4,000 years ago. If a builder builds a house for a man and does not make its construction firm, and the house which he has built collapses and causes the death of the owner of the house, that builder shall be put to death. The builder had skin in the game. He couldn't hide his risks in the foundation of the house, because his own life was on the line. This, Taleb argues, is the only true source of accountability. Never trust someone's opinion if they don't have something to lose if they're wrong. Never ask a doctor what you should do. Ask him what he would do if he were in your shoes. The difference can be astonishing. The hero is not the one who talks about courage, but the one who puts himself at risk for a greater good. The true entrepreneur isn't the slick CEO with a golden parachute. It's the person who starts a small business with her own savings, risking everything she has. Even if she fails, she is a hero, because her failure provides information to the system, making the economy as a whole stronger and more anti-fragile. In the end, Taleb's message is a call to return to a more ancient, more honorable, and more natural way of living. It's about recognizing that we are not machines, but complex organisms that need a bit of chaos to thrive. It's about having the courage to embrace uncertainty, to make small mistakes, to tinker and experiment. It is about building a life, and a society, where we don't try to eliminate the wind, but instead, we learn how to build windmills. Or, even better, how to become the fire that dances and grows stronger in its presence. Commentary. As we come to the end of our exploration of Antifragile, I want to take a moment to reflect on what makes this book so profoundly important, especially right now. On the surface, it's a book about risk and randomness. But underneath, it's a powerful guide to living a fuller, more authentic, and more resilient life. What Nassim Taleb gives us is not just a collection of ideas, but a new language. Before this book, we only had two categories: things that break and things that endure. He gives us a third: things that grow from being broken. And once you have that word, anti-fragile, you start seeing it everywhere. You see it in the way a forest recovers stronger after a fire, in the way a city comes together after a crisis, and hopefully, in the way you respond to your own setbacks. The most powerful lesson for me is the shift in focus from prediction to preparation. We spend so much of our energy trying to guess what's going to happen next. Will the stock market go up? Will I get that promotion? Will this new technology change the world? Taleb's wisdom is to let go of that impossible game. The future is fundamentally unpredictable. The most important events, the black swans, are the ones no one sees coming. Instead of trying to be a better fortune teller, he tells us to become a better architect. Build your life, your career, and your finances in a way that doesn't depend on being right about the future. Build in robustness. Build in redundancy. And most importantly, build in optionality. Create a life where randomness and surprises are your friends, not your enemies. This is an incredibly liberating idea. It means you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to have the wisdom to put yourself in a position where you benefit from the unknown. So, how can you start applying this today? Let me offer 3 simple actions. First, practice via negativa. This week, don't try to add a new good habit. Instead, pick one thing to remove from your life that is making you fragile. It could be a source of chronic anxiety, like checking the news first thing in the morning. It could be a food that you know makes you feel sluggish, like sugary drinks. Subtraction is often the most powerful form of action. Second, build a small barbell. You don't have to rearrange your whole life overnight. Just find one area where you can be extremely safe, and another where you can take a small, calculated risk. Maybe you put a small amount of savings into an ultra-safe account you never touch. And with your time, you take a tiny risk by spending 1 hour a week learning a new skill that has no immediate payoff but could open up unexpected doors in the future. Third, and most importantly, practice having skin in the game. The next time you give a strong opinion or advice to a friend, pause and ask yourself, what do I have at stake here? Am I just talking, or do I have exposure to the consequences of my words? This simple question is a powerful ethical filter. It forces honesty and humility. It makes you a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. Antifragile is not an easy book. It challenges many of our most deeply held assumptions about progress, stability, and success. But its message is ultimately one of profound optimism. It tells us that our scars can make us stronger, that our mistakes can be our greatest teachers, and that a world full of uncertainty is not something to be feared, but a world full of opportunity. It reminds us that we are not fragile teacups to be kept safe on a shelf, but living, breathing beings designed to grow and thrive in the beautiful, unpredictable chaos of life. That was a deep dive into Antifragile by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. We've covered some of the biggest ideas today, but I have to be honest with you, a summary is like looking at a travel brochure. The real adventure happens when you take the journey yourself. There's a certain magic in the way Taleb tells his stories, the way his ideas connect, that you can only get from turning the pages. This summary is your map, to help you decide if this is a journey you want to take. If any of the ideas we've explored today, the Hydra, the barbell, skin in the game, have sparked something in you, then I truly encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning, it's an experience that will fundamentally change how you see the world and your place in it. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if this journey through Antifragile has brought you any value, please take a moment to click that like button and subscribe to the channel. It tells us we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep learning and growing together.